Alright, in this video I'm going to show you guys my new optic for my Mark 13 Mod 5 sniper rifle clone. If you haven't seen my previous videos on my Mark 13 series, I'm going to link those down in the description. I have a playlist where you can check out all of my previous videos going over the build process for my rifle, the history of the Mark 13 Mod 5, as well as the accuracy testing for my particular rifle. So if that interests you, go check them out. This video is just going to be covering my new optic for my rifle. So if you have seen my previous videos, you'll know that I was using a Nightforce nav-spec NXS 5.5-22x56, which is a stellar optic in itself. I really had no complaints about it, aside from the fact that it's a little bit old school, and the optic that I have here has a more updated feature set, which is why SOCOM also ended up switching to these for their Mark 13s. So this is a Schmidt&bender PM2 5-25x56. And obviously this is in their one of their tan colors. So these optics, like I said, are a more modern optic than the NXS, in the sense that it has an illuminated reticle, it has a Tremor 2 reticle, which is an awesome reticle for long-range shooting. It's also front focal plane as opposed to second focal plane like the Nightforce was. It features a 34mm tube and also has matching mill adjustments and a mill reticle, as opposed to the MOA adjustments and the mill dot reticle on the Nightforce. So again, the Nightforce is not a bad optic, and Nightforce does have offerings that are similar to this in quality and performance now, such as their ATACR and their Beast series of scopes. But in sticking with the more authentic clone correct options for the Mark 13, I did track one of these down, and obviously it's a bit used, but that's not a big deal to me. My rifle is used. The chassis that my rifle has is a little beat up from its time on an issued rifle, with it being a surplus item. This is going to match pretty much perfectly. So really quickly, I'll just go over the feature set, and then I'll show you guys the mount that I'm going to go with, and I'll actually get this mounted, and then I'll show you the finished product at the end. So starting off, like I said, this has a Tremor 2 reticle, which you may or may not really be able to make out here. I'm just going to clip in a photo of it here, which the Tremor 2 reticle has a lot going on. There's videos on YouTube you can look up if you want to see how to actually use that reticle. But essentially, it's a bit of an upgrade function-wise from the mill dot reticle that Nightforce had, as far as ranging goes and follow-up shots and that kind of thing. So this also has a slightly wider magnification range, with it having a low power of 5 and then the high power of 25. So it actually goes a little bit lower and a little bit higher than the Nightforce that I had. It has 11 brightness settings for the reticle. Of course, you got your parallax adjustment over here. These turrets also have Schmidt&bender's locking mechanism. So, of course, right now it's unlocked, and you can adjust as you need. And then you can lock it into place, and it will not move. These also have a second rotation indicator, meaning that once you've made one full rotation with the turret, an indicator, this little disc up here, will pop up, showing that you have made one full rotation. So, pretty cool. That's one of the more innovative features that Schmidt&bender is known for. This also has their Mtc Turrets, which means more tactile clicks. So these are extremely tactile, both on the windage and the elevation. Something else that I really like about these PM2s is the location of the 0 position for the windage knob. So with a traditional rifle scope, if you're looking down the scope, if you've got your head in the shooting position, and you look to peek your head over and make an adjustment on your windage, you actually have to move your head off to the right in order to see, if I can get this to focus, in order to see where you're currently adjusted to. But on the Schmidt&bender, they actually moved it up here to this kind of 45-degree position. So now you don't have to actually tilt your head over. You can just raise your head up make your adjustment, get back down on the optic. So is that a make it or break it feature? No. Definitely a quality of life improvement though, in my opinion. So like I said, this has a 34mm tube, meaning generally you will get more elevation adjustment out of a scope like this, which for a 300 Win Mag may or may not end up being important. You can usually get away with a 30mm tube, but it is nice to have the 34mm. And this is a front focal plane optic, meaning that as you adjust your magnification, the size of your reticle is actually going to change accordingly in order to keep the value of your subtensions true. So in layman's terms, when you're on 5 power, one of the hash marks on your reticle that represents 1 mil is still going to be 1 mil even when you adjust it all the way up to 25 power. On the Night Force scope I had before, that was a second focal plane optic, meaning that those subtensions were only 1 mil when you were on the max magnification. So again, not a deal breaker. There's actually a lot of debate online whether or not first or second is really better because they both have their pros and cons, but generally I prefer a first focal plane reticle when available. So that is the Riflescope itself. And now I'm just going to get into the mount. So there were a couple different mounting options that SOCOM used with these scopes, both on the Mark 13 Mod 5 and 7. One common one for the Mod 5 was the LaRue LT111 OBR mount. So that's what I have here. Of course, this is the 34mm version with their QD levers. Typically, I would use a traditional non-QD scope ring set for a rifle like this. But LaRue makes solid mounts. I have no worries about this losing zero or anything. But the actual ring set that they issued with these rifles was made by a company known as Ops, and the actual name that Ops stands for is escaping me at the moment. I'll put it in right here, but they made a ring set that was used on these that is extremely hard to find. So in lieu of tracking those down, I went with the LaRue because it is also clone correct. What I also purchased for this is the Accuracy First bubble level, which is not actually a bubble level. It uses a ceramic ball instead of an air bubble. So there's some pros to that. Mainly it's more accurate. It depends on gravity rather than the buoyancy of the air bubble to get itself centered. So these have been used on quite a few different Mark 13 rifles as well. And I think I'm going to mount this right about here. And my mount should have enough room to squeeze in behind that. So anyway, I'm going to cut away, and when I come back, I will have the scope and the bubble level all mounted up together. All right, and just like that, we have the scope mounted up in the LaRue LT111 mount. So for you guys, that was just a fraction of a second, but for me, that was about half an hour of blood, sweat, and tears getting this thing perfectly level. I did get the scope level to the mount and the gun itself, and then also the scope level to the Accuracy First scope leveler. So that's obviously important to level this as well if you're going to plan on using it. So I did get it pretty much spot on. So that is the complete setup there, and now I'm going to cut to the completed rifle. All right, and here we have the finished product. So like I said before, if you want to learn more about these rifles, about the Mark 13 program, or how to build one of these yourselves, check out my playlist down in the description. It'll show you basically everything that you need to know as far as what parts you'll need, who you can send the rifle to have it built, and what variants there are to build as far as the Mark 13 goes. So check that out. Also go follow me on Instagram. I'm hoping to get some really good quality photos of this gun put up on my Instagram here very soon. So keep an eye out for that. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.